What's poppin', everyone? Venomous Stare back with StarCraft 2. This time it's the Zerg player from Sweden, sort of, versus the American Protoss, Neeb. This is a best of 3, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the next games. Neeb is blocking the natural expansion, or at least the placement of the natural expansion at the natural, because sort of is just going to take a base over at his third. Neeb is continuing to be annoying with this probe. Now if you see professionals do this, this is a cute little probe micro trick where he actually mined the mineral there, but essentially you can just repeatedly click over and over on the mineral and then click away before your probe actually mines it. And only one player at a time can mine from a mineral patch. So what you saw there was he was just clicking on the minerals over and over and making these two drones from sort of bug out. That's just a little bit of early game harassment. Very, very light stuff, but every little bit counts, especially in the early game and especially at a very high level. Sort of gets his third down very quickly. This has been pretty common versus Protoss to do for a long time. Zerg players don't really have a whole lot to worry about in the early and mid game versus Protoss, at least in terms of what you see on the ground. Now usually Protoss players will open Stargate. A lot of times we also see some sort of Twilight opener, whether that be double Archon drop is very popular, or sometimes we see the charge upgrade since it has been reduced in price to 100-100, and of course the infamously popular Resonating Glaives, which of course is very good with Adepts, because that is the unit that it upgrades, of course. But what I meant by it is good with Adepts is you can go for these mass Adept compositions and it can kind of replace a robotics composition. A lot of times in the past, we saw Protoss players had to go for the robotics bay at some point and then definitely an Immortal or two. And way back in the day, like in 2011, it was really Colossus focused. Now at this time we see the Twilight is almost kind of replacing the Robo in a way, because the Resonating Glaive upgrade just makes the Adept so powerful. It makes just the basic gateway unit into something that can kind of be the backbone of your army, at least for a little bit. Oracle on the way here out of the Stargate for Neeb. Now the Oracle, of course, is excellent at scouting, and speaking of scouting, the two Adepts are going to try to do a little bit of that here. Sort of course, focus firing and then shift A moving. Excellent move there to make sure that all of his links focused onto one Adept, and then after they were done they immediately ran and focused onto the other. If sort of have just gotten sloppy and A moved, then there is a chance that both of those Adepts could have phase shaded away, or at least one of them. Mothership Core about to finish here, and the Oracle, of course, has finished. A second one will be the choice for Neeb, and this is a little bit interesting to me. A lot of players really like to go into Phoenix because Zergs will just pretty much know that, okay, whatever the Protoss opens, I'm going to be fine with the Spore, because double Archon drop is very good, and a Spore helps that a little in terms of defense. But of course the DT is always a threat from Protoss, and Protoss players will sometimes be cute, and even if they want to do the double Archon, they'll say, okay, well, you know, if he doesn't have detection, then I can auto win if I just try to run in with the 4 DTs, and they'll do that. Now in pro play, that's not really as common because the professional gamer is significantly less likely to die to that, but at the lower levels, as you see two Oracles come over here, Spore 2 Queen combo there is going to hold that off. And that's kind of what I was talking about. Now these Oracles can do Stasis Ward behind the mineral line, which is a very powerful form of harassment, as a Bane Nest and a Robo Bay is on the way. But they can also tag with Revelation, so that's kind of why two Oracles is a good choice. Now, I know I said it was a bit odd earlier, and the Phoenix, of course, I think, are just so incredibly strong because they can hunt down Overlords, and if we go to units, it's just the one Phoenix hunting Overlords here for Neeb. Now notice that our Zerg friend sort of already went down into supply block once this game due to the Phoenix. And that's really why I like the Phoenix, is because it's such a small investment to get that one Phoenix, and it gets you so much map control. Also, if the Zerg player goes Muta, it means, as we see a revelation go down there, it means that the Zerg player is not really going to be able to get an advantage with his mutas, as some Lings are out here for sort of. Now with Sentries, Adepts, and a Mothership Core, the Protoss player is fine, and of course Neeb is a very strong player. He's not likely to have his wall down, Sloppy Joe. Warp Prism halfway done, and Neeb is continuing to run around with these Oracles. Now neither one of them really getting any kills done, and it is worth noting that Neeb has not really been making anything out of that Stargate. He made the Stargate to get 2 Oracles, only made the 1 Phoenix, and it looks like the gate will fall there. So it is interesting to note that if you get 4 Phoenix, you can run around and really assert your map control dominance over the Zerg and pick up queens, but it's kind of a cyclical metagame that we see going on, which, if you don't know what that means, the metagame in StarCraft 2, and really in most things, goes in cycles. And now that Hydra Bane is really popular, it means that these kind of extended Stargate openers, where the Protoss players makes multiple Phoenix, which of course are not good against Phoenix, or excuse me, aren't good against Hydra, Banes, or Lings. That means that we see way less focus on Phoenix, and of course Neeb has elected to go into other things more quickly, like Resonating Glaives, +1, and Immortals. Normally, if he would have just made a bunch of Phoenix, it would have delayed everything else. So we see Neeb is adjusting to the metagame, and a stray drone gets butchered there. And a counterattack with the Adepts going on, as Hydra Bane is going to be the choice here for Sword Up. This is very popular. Excellent force fields here, trapping the Hydra Bane away from Neeb's base, and Neeb can just continue to use Photon Overcharge, and Adepts are butchering drones here. Sword Up's only on 3 bases. He's very hard committed to this. Hydra Bane is very popular, but we can see Neeb has a Photon Overcharge to set on, comes in with 2 Oracles which do bonus damage to light units, aka everything the Zerg has. And the Adept Shades are going to come forward here, and with Resonating Glaives finished, Sword Up is so behind in supply, and we see drone butchery occurred there and ended the game. So I'm just going to rewind a little bit briefly and talk about what happened. So Hydra Bane has been getting a lot of talk and a lot of complaining, really, about it. And what do we see? What's Hydra Bane? Well, essentially Hydra Bane is a composition that Zerg goes for in the mid-game, sort of an all-in, but sometimes depending on whether Zerg makes an Infestation Pit or a 4th, it's not really so much all-in. That's what's so vexing about it to Protoss players, is this Hydra Bane attack comes and you're never really sure how much Zerg is committing to it. Are they, hard committing off of 42 drones with mass Hydra Bane? Or do they have 4 bases, kind of like Serral gets, and sometimes they'll even double upgrade, go into Lurker? It can be very hard to figure out what the Zerg player is really committing to doing. Make sure you leave a like, and you even favorite the video if you liked it that much. Subscribe for more. Sort of went for that big attack, and we saw that the Protoss player Neeb was very intelligent and set up a Warp Prism, and as soon as the Zerg player marched across the map, sort of essentially had to kill him right there because of how much drone damage that he took. So make sure you leave a like rating, like I said, guys. Have a good one.